Okay, good morning, everybody. It is Monday. It's a rainy Monday over here. It's July 30th. We got a couple more days left to go in the month. Monday mornings are honestly one of my just favorite days and times of the week. This hour that I spend with you, I look forward to every single time, no matter like what's happening in my life. And so I'm really feeling grateful to be here. Nikki and I have a great, you know, like, uh, plan today. We're actually going to watch and share a little bit of a Zoom, of a diamond Zoom, and kind of like stop, start, and use that for some discussion today on some deeper like personal development and paradigms. So I will pass the baton to Nikki to kind of like begin that and lead us through, and just get us going. What you got for us, Nikki?
Yay. All right. Well, thank you, Stacy. So yeah, it's kind of nice. It's going to feel like we have a little bit of a guest speaker. So if I know there's a couple people on the line today that know about Paradigm, raise your hand if you know about Paradigm and what that means. Cool. Raise your hand if you've heard of Rob Dial. Yes. Good, good, good. Okay. So a couple, like I think it was in 2016 or 17. I think it was 17.
Mm-hmm.
I became a member of Rob Dial's mastermind group after being part of this Zoom. And for some reason, like you're going to see it, you're going to see, I want to just share this. I don't know. I can't see my face on the Zoom. So it probably means there was 2 pages of people watching the Zoom. But I want you to know, you guys, that Stacy, when you're looking at this, as you're listening, look at Stacy because she's sitting there on the Zoom and it is pitch black behind her. Like you literally can't see anything. And I just want to say, like, that just shows that, you know what, Zooms are not always convenient. They're not always convenient. It's not always convenient to show up. But when you are dedicated to your business and to growing personally, you show up no matter what, and you show up anyway. And Stacy sets her alarm and gets up at 3 a.m. to be part of these Diamond Zooms. And I have to give you that shout out because you do it through thick, through thin, through the hard times, through the good times, through whenever. And it shows. I mean, your leadership, friendship, all of that, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. So when I was looking for this video, that popped out at me and I got just like a lump in my throat because she's done that since day one. And I'm ridiculously impressed with her hustle. And, you know, it's not just hustle. She follows through and gets shit done. So Stacy, I love you and you're amazing. And we are just so grateful to you and for everything you do. Look at her right here. Can you see her? Can you guys see that? Pitch black, pitch black. All right. So I'm going to start this about 6 minutes in. There's just a discussion in the beginning of sort of an intro to the topic, but also a couple of success stories from a few people. The girl up in the right-hand corner, I just want to let you guys know this. The girl up in the right-hand corner, her name is Katie. You see her with a newborn baby there. She hit diamond as she was going into like having that baby, and she got some recognition on this call for that. And I thought that was really cool. And it just reminds me too, when Jenny first started, Jenny did the same thing. She didn't hit diamond, but she hit like Success Club 10 while she was giving birth to Rex. I mean, it's just like hustle. That's what hustle is. That's what dedication is to something that you do. And you don't do that just to be like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. It's because you have the drive. You have this inner purpose that you're working your purpose. You know, you're working your purpose when you do that kind of stuff and you don't think twice about it. All right, let me see. I think I got this at the right spot. If not, I'll rewind it a little. Just scooch it back a little tiny bit.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this. Can you guys all hear me? So you guys almost had me crying there for a second. So it's the only reason why is because it is great to figure out why you're alive and like really work as hard as you possibly can to do it. So it's crazy. I kind of had the realization not too long ago, and then them just speaking and hearing what they've gotten from learning about the paradigm and learning about the group is put me back a couple years to really think as they were speaking about like why I've gotten in this personal growth and why I'm so obsessed with it. So so if you guys don't know about my story, the reason why I'm obsessed with personal growth is because I became my own psychologist. So that's kind of the way that I figured it out, is that I My parents got divorced when I was 9 because my father was an alcoholic, passed away when I was 15, and I had a lot of issues in my head, and I was very self-aware of there was a lot of ways that I was holding myself back. And two things happened. Number one, I realized that I was holding myself back in certain ways that I wasn't sure of. And number two, I knew that I had a lot of greatness inside of me, but it was just I couldn't bring it out, and I couldn't, and I didn't know how to do it. And so I was I need to figure this out. And so I went on it's now been 12 years. So for you guys that have been in, personal development for a while and all of these things, it's funny because I have one-on-one coaching clients that are 50, 55 years old, that are older than me. But we all work the same way. Our brains all work the same way. And so I've spent the past 12 years obsessing with how can I bring the greatness out of myself and get myself over all of the boundaries, all of the barriers that I put in front of myself. And in turn, in the past 12 years of learning it, I've also been able to teach it a lot as well. And the thing that really changed my life the most, and the thing that's changed all of my coaching clients the most, is the paradigm. And when I was talking about this, about coming on and doing this, I was like, well, we can go into paradigm and I can re-explain it, because some of you guys, I think, might have been on that call. Some of you might not have been on the call. But even if you hear it 15, 20 times, 150 times, you start clicking and you start realizing stuff about yourself. And I think that the reason why you guys are all on this call, and the reason why you are where you are, and it's great to talk to people who are already successful in the business, is because of the fact that you know that there's something inside of you that's great. You're not, let me put it this way, you're not normal, right? You know that there's some greatness that you're trying to pull out, but eventually you get to the point, if you haven't gotten to the point, everybody gets to this point where it's you're just hitting this glass ceiling and you can't get past it, and you're stuck right here, and you're like, why can't I get past it? And for me, my biggest pride of being, I hate the word life coach on this stuff, just being a coach with somebody in general, is that I'm able to get them to this point and then go past it, because you don't realize you have to identify what you're hitting before you can get past it. And so with the paradigm, this is absolutely 100% the most important thing I think people will ever learn in their entire life, because it unlocks your potential, but then it unlocks the potential around the people that are around you, because of the fact that you can now talk to them. And the reason why I was excited to jump on this call is because I know that you guys have lots of people under you. And I thought, well, how can I make the biggest impact? Because for me, this whole thing, starting a podcast was not about money. It just happened to be that I turned it into a business. I didn't try to make money off of it for 10 months. And so I just wanted to impact as many people as possible. So I thought, if I can talk to you guys, and you guys have hundreds, if not thousands of people under you, well, then maybe I can try to help you learn it so that you can teach it to people down the road. And what you'll notice is, if you really start diving into your own paradigm, number one, you can't teach what you don't have. So you have to go into the deep, dark places, and all the places that might be really screwed up in your head. There's a lot of us that have a lot of screwed up parts of our head, but you have to dive into this really deep part, and the part that you're afraid to come in contact with. And once you do, and you start unlocking all these things, you can then start teaching it to everybody else.
All right, so I want to take a second and pause here, you guys. I'm going to click back out of screen share for a second so we can all see each other well here. Okay, so anybody on this team ever feel like you're stuck? Anybody on this team feel like they know that they're made for more than what they're really outputting right now? All right. So when you think about what he is having to say, and anybody on this call not willing to identify what you're hitting so you can get past it? I'm willing. Yes, I said not, and then now I mean, are we all willing to identify what we are hitting and what we are coming up against so that we can get past it and get to that next level? Because that's really what it's about, and it is scary. It's dark. It's like cleaning out a closet, and you're like, oh shit, what have I been storing back here? And you're going to take that stuff and you're going to decide to throw a lot of it away, and there's going to be things that you're going to put back neatly. Okay. And that's what it's about in that journey, is for all of you to do for whatever it is, it's not going to look identical. There's not going to be the path of, oh, you're just going to do the step this. It's going to be different for every single one of us. You know, there's different things that even just like, you know, in the last, Stacey and I have both been through some stuff, you guys know, with our dads passing away at the same year, basically. And, you know, I'm coming up on 1 year anniversary of my dad. Also have some issues in my personal family that, you know, I have some people in my family with some addiction that I'm dealing with. And so that's been really difficult. And what that's showed me though, you guys, is that you can keep laying it on me, but I still keep showing up. Why? Because I know that I'm supposed to be doing this, and I know this is part of my purpose. And Stacey, if you want to jump in this part too, you know, it's like that's when you know you're on the right path, is if there's an obstacle that gets thrown in your way and you're like, oh yeah, let me just get that one out of the way and keep going. But for some reason you might still find yourself stuck. That's okay. It's okay. And things might take you a little longer than you anticipated, because guess what? You're living life, and that's what life's about. Stacey.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been diving into my personal development like nobody's business, because the truth is that I've been suffering from a lot of anxiety and depression, and I'm just very sad and scared about a lot of different things. I feel heightenedly scared about, so my daughter leaving, and still my dad, it's just been a few months since he passed away, and haven't really dealt with that. And yeah, just even uncertainties in my business. And I always want to feel like, am I still continuing to grow, you know? And I think that I am in all of these areas. But basically what happens is, in my deepest, darkest hours, when I'm really scared, you know, I get up in this morning, like I know to meditate, to write, to journal, to think of all of the things that make me feel better. And these are things and practices that I've really learned being a Beachbody coach and being a part of this team. This is what I've learned. And Rachel Hollis, I'll just tell you 2 nuggets. She was brilliant. Chapter 6 in Girl Wash Your Face. She's just like, so you think this is taking you longer than you thought it would? Is that what your problem is? I was like, oh. She was like so tired of me. I'm like, everything is taking me longer, okay, than I thought it would. I'm going to say like pretty much everything. But then come to think about, I'm like, okay, that's so ridiculous. It's such a great smack upside your head of like, get some perspective, chick, you know, because anything that's worth having, or that you really have taken the time to learn, like these lessons, paradigms, or whatever lessons that you're really going to learn before you can turn around and teach them, before you can turn around and articulate them, or even really grow from them, it just takes time. So you're either in it or, you know, or not. I also had 2 things that really spoke to me. Expectations close doors. When you expect something, it closes the door. Expectations close doors. So if you find yourself expecting something, stop. Just stop right there. Okay, but guess what? Hope opens doors. Hope will make you feel strong and secure in what you're doing. It's the opposite. So it's sort of these things that we all have to have awareness about and doing. So these were the things that have been speaking to me today. And thank you. I think it's really important, both Nikki and I share with you, as we lead our teams, as we post daily and Made for More, as we show up as much as we possibly can, that there is still anxiety, pain, uncertainty at every single corner. Every no, every not now, everything. We have that and more. So I hope that you're inspired by the way we're able to still show up and do that. And we want to know what is awesome for you guys, and also, you know, what you're struggling with. So this is what we're here to dig into today. I think all of you guys are open enough to do that. I know with Carrie, and sometimes we talk about what is what's really holding us back, what we're struggling with the most individually, it's really good to put that out vulnerably in your social media and on the team, and even a little bigger space when you can find the words to do that. That's it.
Yep, that's good. And so we'll kick right back to the video, and what he's going to tackle into next, you guys, is really the definition of paradigm and what that means. And he talks a lot about your mind, your conscious mind, and your subconscious mind. And that's where I think, this is all going to tie together really nicely. And if you think about expectations and hope and how that could go together, like if you have expectations and you think in expectations all the time, that could be maybe what's hanging you up. So think about that. Think about that as he dives into this next part here.
And so, so I'm going to turn this so you guys can see my board. You guys, if this is like a tour of Cribs, you guys know MTV Cribs. This is where the magic happens right here. This is the podcasting mic. This is, let me see. I have, can you guys see this right here? Is this backwards? Is it backwards? Yes, no? No. Okay, perfect. So since the day I figured this out, I haven't taken it down because it's literally like the most important thing ever. So your paradigm is what we're going to talk about. And for those of you guys that haven't heard of this before, this is the part where you want to start taking notes if you haven't already. So your paradigm is your subconscious belief that you don't even really know exists, right? Once you understand it, your world, I swear to you, your entire world is going to open up and you're going to be like, holy crap, how did I never see this? You guys ever know someone, like one of your friends that's in a really, really bad relationship, and you keep saying it and everybody outside of the relationship notices it, but then they don't notice it and they get out of the relationship, they're like, what the heck was I doing all of that time? This is your paradigm. You don't notice it until you're outside of it looking down at yourself. And so this is the subconscious. So most people don't even know this exists. Your belief is your conscious mind, your one thought that you can hold as you're going through. Now, before I tell you these parts, let me tell you the difference between your subconscious and your conscious mind, okay? And this is very important for you to be able to teach other people and be able to say to them, your paradigm is your subconscious, your belief is your conscious mind. The difference between, if I were to give you a very quick rundown of the difference between your belief, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is this. Your conscious mind, the best way I've ever heard it described was in a book called, by Brian Tracy, called Maximum Achievement is what it was. It's one of my favorite books ever, and most people have never heard of it. And he explains it as this. Your conscious mind, if you were to think of it, would be a golf ball, right? Your subconscious mind would be basically a basketball. And so that's the way you have to think of it. Your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. My conscious mind right now, I can't think about anything else in my life. I can't think about, anything that's happening. And because of the fact that I'm literally just concentrating on what I'm going to say next and it's coming out of my mouth. And that's it. That's what your conscious mind and your belief is. Your paradigm is the basketball. It's this huge filing cabinet. Now, here's the deal. Your conscious mind can tell what is true and what is false. Your subconscious mind has no idea what is true and what is false. It stores everything that you say, everything that you think, all of your thoughts and feelings as true. So back in like the 30s, I think it was like 1932. Like someone's in a tornado here. Someone's not muted. So anyways, back in the 1932s, in the 1930s, in the Olympics, the German runners destroyed everybody. And what happened was they realized that they were going out and they were sprinting and they were running the races. But then when they weren't running the races, they actually had them come back, sit in chairs, and visualize running the races running the races perfectly over and over and over and over and over again, and winning over and over and over again. So not only did they run the races, but they also ran the races hundreds of thousands of times before the next Olympics, watching themselves run it perfectly and winning every single time. And what they found out is that your brain actually, whether you move or not, if you're visualizing yourself running a race, your actual neurotransmitters will fire the exact same way over and over and over and over and over again. Why does this mean anything with what I'm talking about? Because that's your subconscious. That storing it as true is winning over and over and over again. So they had won the race 100,000 times before they actually got to the Olympics. So guess what? They went to the Olympics, and what did they do? They win the race because they kept running over and over and over again perfectly in their mind. So let me explain this to you. So your paradigm is your subconscious mind. It's this giant filing cabinet that files everything away. And this is also why your self-talk is so important. And this is why, another reason why I love Beachbody is because it's a lot about empowerment. And I think that the problem with society nowadays with advertising is it's not about empowerment. It's about making you feel as little as possible so that you buy what they want to give you, right? So your self-talk is super important because if you keep saying to yourself, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm ugly, I'm not smart enough to do this, people don't like me enough to buy this product from me or to sign up with me and all these things, your subconscious is just going to store it as true every single time. And so you're literally, without doing anything but thinking, you're literally just taking the legs out of your success because your subconscious is storing as true, and then you will take actions that will line up with whatever your subconscious says. That's the most in-depth of this I've gone so far, so that's good. I'm going into this, guys. So your paradigm goes into your belief. Your belief is your conscious thought. Here's the deal. Here's why the paradigm is so important is because you can believe in your head, I deserve success. I deserve to be successful at Beachbody. I deserve to make 100,000, 200,000, whatever amount of money it is. I deserve it. And you can consciously believe that thought. But if it doesn't line up with your paradigm, nothing will change. And so we have to figure out what your paradigm is. So your paradigm goes into, your subconscious thought goes into your belief, your conscious thought. What you believe will go into how much action you actually take. So it'll go into how much action you actually take. And depending on the amount of action you take, we can all agree on this one. This is very obvious. Depending on the amount of action you take, your results will line up with that, right? If you go out and you work 100 hours a week for the next 4 weeks in Beachbody, your action will turn into the biggest results you've ever had, right? Because you just go at it and you say, I don't care what happens. I'm just going to go. People can say no to me as much as they want. And your results are going to line up with your actions. Now, your results feed back into your paradigm. So if you've ever gotten the feeling, you've probably all gotten the feeling, especially like in Beachbody with your first time talking with people or trying to get people on, you guys know that butterfly feeling where it's like the feeling of like, oh crap, like this, I'm really nervous to do this. What that is your conscious being out of alignment with your subconscious. Your conscious mind, these things, being out of alignment with what your paradigm is. And so the way you want to explain, if you notice the way I always teach, if I could teach you anything, always teach through analogies because that's how people think. It's easier for them to understand. Easiest analogy that you can use for your paradigm is a thermometer. And so if you set your thermometer at 70 degrees in your house and it goes up to 72 degrees, your air conditioning will automatically, you don't have to do it. This is the important thing. Your air conditioning will automatically kick on and pull it back down to 70 degrees, right? Now, if it goes to 68 degrees, your heat will automatically kick on and it'll pull it back to 70 degrees, okay? So your 70 degrees, your thermometer, where you are right now, is your paradigm is your 70 degrees. That's where you're comfortable. So if you've ever had...
All right. So I think this is another good spot, you guys, to have a little bit of discussion. I remember when I heard him say that about the thermometer, I was like, oh, like that was just really eye-opening to me, because if you think about that, like we all have personally set our own thermometer, and we're always going to come back to that spot. We might go above and beyond and like have a great month in Beachbody, or have a great month as like a wife or a mom, or a great day as like, you know, whatever. And then we automatically go right back down to that. And so if you've ever made a big change in your life, chances are you have already reset your paradigm. Like you've already done it before. I know I've done it. I know exactly when I did it. I did it back in high school. I know exactly when I did it. And it was pretty cool the first time I did it. You know, I went from being like a student who jerked around, I drank a lot, and I hit it, and I screwed around a lot in high school, even had behavior problems. And I decided that I didn't want to be that anymore. And I just decided that. And suddenly I was making the honor roll and being recognized for my papers that I was writing, and just behavior in classes and getting that kind of recognition. And I realized what kind of person I wanted to be. And I reset my paradigm because I just like didn't care. There was a time I just didn't care. I didn't put pride in my work. I just screwed around, you know? And I think, you know, it came from just having a hard time as a child, like a really hard childhood, divorced parents, addiction around me, just a lot of stuff, right? But it showed me it was possible to change that paradigm. And it was like my 70 degrees today is different because the first time I remember doing it was when I was young. And I knew like, oh my God, I don't want to be known as that. I want to be known like this. And I just made that decision. When you make that decision, you can just be like, this is where I'm going. You know, the past is the past. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to shut the door on it, but I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow from it, and I'm going to change the subconscious belief that has put me in the place I don't want to be. So that's what that comes up for me. Does anybody have anything they want to share on that?
It just comes up for me, you know, like in our realm of doing the work that we do, of like when you just decide, I am going to be a great leader, you know, that I can, you know, be a super successful coach, health and wellness coach. You just decide that that's going to be what it's going to be. And then anything that you're doing is action that you're taking to get yourself to that spot, you know, and that's kind of like that future thinking, the power of saying what you want to be. It's not what you are or where you've been. Where are you going? And what do you want to be? What do you want to have happen in all of those realms? You know, you've got to be able to say it, to attach words to it, to visualize it, to think it. And that creates the paradigm, and that creates where you're going. And I think working on that is huge. This is big stuff. It's deep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So this isn't about the coaching part of it, but I had a huge paradigm shift back when I started all my losses, losing my dad, you know, losing my confidence, losing my job, you know, all kinds of losses. And I just decided come January the 1st, 2012, I was done. I was done with that. I was going to start taking care of myself. And that's when I plugged that first CD in of Shailene Extreme, and I never looked back. You know, and that was a huge shift in thinking for me. So, and I'm so glad that I did, because I wouldn't be sitting here right now. You know, so it's progressed.
Yep.
So
and
good.
Said there too is she said shift in thinking, and that's really what it is. It's a shift in thinking. You know, like if she were to continue telling herself, like, you know, poor me or whatever you were saying, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'm assuming that it was along those lines, you know, I'm not good enough for this, and oh, everyone else is so lucky, or just whatever, you know, like that's what was honestly, that's what was going on in my head, you know, even when I was making my own messes in high school. You know, like I got suspended from school for drinking, kicked off the cheerleading team for 2 weeks. I mean, it was humiliating, you guys, humiliating, because I'm like, this is not who I am. You know, I am not this person. And I just decided I'm not this person anymore. And it was a shift in thinking. And I just stopped being that person. I stopped. I said, forget it. This is not taking me to the place I want to go. And I imagine, Janie, that's about where you were.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I mean, a lot of it to me was my negative self-talk, because I was getting older. You know, who's going to want to hire me? You know, who would ever listen to me? Or what have I got to offer? You know, I would look at pictures of people my age, and they were frumpy and dumpy and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I don't want to do that. So, doggone it, I like myself. You know?
Yep.
I don't know if you guys remember that from Saturday Night Live.
Loved it.
But it is so true, you know, and there are times when I will be real honest, you know, I go back at this point and I start that whole negative Nelly, you know, starting to listen to that clamor in my head, and I just have to shut it down. So
Yeah.
Yep. That's great. Mary.
So for me, I think sometimes it's hard for me to quite put my finger on it, but I think I'm getting closer to it all the time, because I have been thinking about this a lot because I see certain trends. But I feel like I have lived a lot of my life feeling like a victim, like I didn't have any choices, and that I was helpless, didn't have a way out. You know, I lived in a you know, very abusive relationship, not physically abusive, but abusive in a lot of other ways, for 25 years. In fact, we were together from this time I was 16 until I was 46. So just, I think that having gone through that, I mean, I look back on it now and I think to myself, I always thought I didn't have choices, but I always had choices. I always had choices. I always had the ability to make, you know, I think my problem was I was always trying to change him, not change me, not change my circumstance, not change my life. And so I just came to the realization that, you know, I have to do what's good for me, and I can make choices for myself. I don't have to wait for someone else to validate that choice and to say it's okay. So that's, you know, I'm maybe 59, learning that for the first time, you know, maybe not learn. I've been learning it slowly over time, but I think a lot of the thing that kind of holds me back still is that I still feel like I have this part of me that feels like people are going to let me down. I'm going to get choked up. And so I hold people sometimes at a distance. So that you know, I really try to overcome that and try to really get into people's pain. It's difficult for me to enter into someone else's pain because it's a vulnerable spot for me. So that's kind of the thinking I was having. And you know, what Stacy said earlier about expectation, that was like, okay, bingo, that really resonated with me, because I feel like I have a lot of times when I have that instead of the hope, you know.
Yep.
Because I expect people to let me down.
It's some big stuff, Mary. You just laid some bombs right here. Just, you know, like, could that like leave you feeling stuck if you feel like you have no choice? You know, like that would be like quicksand, right? You know, just living in that space right there. And God, you're just such a beautiful person. You've grown so much. I think that's the thing. It's like, here in this environment, we should all be sharing all of these ways that we have grown, because we tend to forget. And I think it's really important, you know, to constantly remind ourselves of how much progress we really have made. And
so, yeah, I mean, going along that line, when I hear that, like Janie said, when I hear that negative self-talk coming up, some of the things that I repeat back to myself is, hey, look at the things you have done. You know, where were you, you know, 3 years ago? Where were you 8 years ago? You know, look at the ways that you have made a difference in your own life and in the lives around you in the last 10 years, especially. You know, so I have to circle back on that and say, you know, maybe it's not always easy to make certain choices and to do things that are difficult, but if you take one step at a time, it's doable.
It is. And that came from a shift in paradigm, you know, like you've changed your paradigm. So you you've done it before, you can do it again. You know, and that's what reminded me when I got on with Stacy before the call. I was like, it was so cool to re-listen to this whole thing with Rob Dial, because I remember hearing this for the first time. And I just like felt this moment for 1 second where I was like, whoa, I've changed so much since I first heard this Zoom. Like, this Zoom changed me. And I don't know why we haven't talked about it sooner. But you know what? Whatever happens. This is emerging, I think, at the right time. We're coming off the heels of Summit. We're coming off the heels of our Made for More group. And you guys, I think, are just in the right headspace for this right now. And, you know, that's why I believe that this popped into our head to talk about this right now, because, you know, you do have to be at a certain you have to be in a certain headspace to be willing to open up about this stuff and to kind of clean out the dirty closet and say, like, you know what, this shit's not serving me anymore. It's going to the trash can. I'm not even going to donate it because it's not good for anybody. So, you know, like, you got to just like kind of get there, you know. And I love too what Mary said was, you know, we can spend our time trying to like change other people, but really what it is it's here. This is the work that needs to be done. And we don't ask permission from anyone. Like, it's just, you do the work for yourself, and the people that are meant to stay in your life will stay in your life, and you'll form new, greater, stronger relationships as the newer version of you. And you'll know which relationships and kind of where they sit in your world that kind of, I don't know, that move you forward. And I feel like I look at this group of faces, and you guys are my growth friends. Like, you're my growth friends. I feel really safe. I feel really confident and comfortable sharing things with you guys that are hard, that I'm like, ugh, you know, because I know you're never going to judge me. And I hope that that's the way that every single person on the Zoom feels. Like, I couldn't imagine judging you guys, only feeling just an immense amount of pride if you do speak up and when you decide to speak up more. You know, like, I just hope we can continue to foster this environment, because this is what's going to take our team to a whole other level.
You guys, this is the stuff. And so think about anybody who you may have seen on Oprah who decided to out their whatever about their life in front of millions and millions of people, right? So we're doing it in a very safe, loving environment. Everybody around here is very safe, you know, so like taking that, but what you just said, this was really big aha for me too. So as coaches, if you are feeling frustrated and exasperated by people that you're working with that aren't changing or aren't doing it, let it go. It is not our job to change anybody ever. It is our job to change ourselves and to inspire people to follow you. We inspire people to follow us in healthy eating, daily exercise, good self-care, nourishment, growing their business, growing their greatness, growing their potential. We're inspiring people to do that. It's on to them to do it. Okay. So when the negative, you know, like if we drew that line, what's on this side, positive and negative, you know, so to me, all of these go for our business. We're growing personally in our businesses. And it's the same thing when we're turning around and coaching them to the people that we're serving every day in our groups. And then we're asking to join us. Okay. So when you come at them with the angle of like, I've got this bell, this whistle, and I'm going to help you, it sounds used car salesman. It sounds like, what the hell? They're just like deflecting, you know? No, inspire them on how you have changed and you have grown, and share the tools that you're using wholeheartedly. And back to all of this with the vulnerability, Brene Brown, life begins with vulnerability. There is no growth in creativity without vulnerability. So it's how often are we willing to get vulnerable, to just cry on the floor, let our hearts out, or to be sad, or to be anxious. Like, I've been wallowing in like, this is it. This is how I'm feeling, and this is it. And telling the people in my life how I'm feeling. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling disconnected and vulnerable is all get the frick out. and at the same time, I'm still here in my skin, alive, right? So like but sharing that is so important. Oh my goodness. That's where everything good happens. My clarity. I also woke up so clear on the 6 people I'm going to reach out to today to join my business. Because I did this work this morning. All of a sudden, my creativity, I got whoopity clear. And it was really good. So this is the type of stuff that will help you to invite better and everything better. Okay, Nikki, I know you want to keep going on with this one.
Oh yeah, no, and I think like, you know, it's all about too, when we talk about sharing and whatever, like we're not asking you guys to like put your deepest, dirtiest secrets on your, social media. I want to make sure that's not what we're saying. And I think you guys know that, but I think even when we're having just private conversations one-on-one, what can you share with that individual? Like, can you get there with people, like so that they can see that they can also do it too. And some lessons from your life might be really appropriate and some, might not. And you have to just be that open box of a person to know kind of when and what is applicable. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you guys, if you don't, I have to say, sharing a vulnerable moment, a sentence, something that gives them a glimpse that you are not perfect, that you are human, and that you have lived life in the arena and gotten your ass kicked a few times. And guess what? You're better. You're better for it. You're better for it. That's the thing. Sometimes we have shame over the ass kicking or shame over whatever happened to us. But no, we're better people for it, whatever it was, because we're still here. It's important.
I love it. All right, let's see what else Rob's got to say for us.
At the situation where you start doing really well, or you start being successful at something, or you start making a lot more money than you were expecting or that you thought that you could. You start being successful and then you somehow self-sabotage. Anybody ever had this happen before? Okay, a lot of heads moving. This is the reason why. It's because the outside world is not lining up with your paradigm. And your paradigm always wants to be true. Because of this, your brain is designed to keep you safe, right? And so right now, and I so badly didn't want to bring up the election, but the reason why there's a lot of people nervous right now is because we don't know what the hell's about to happen. Whether you agree with it, whether you don't agree with it, people are like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what's going to happen. And the only reason why is because you knew yesterday you were alive and you were safe. Now you're like, oh crap, I don't know what's about to happen, right? That's the feeling right there of uncertainty and not quite sure of what's going to happen in the future. In your paradigm at 70 degrees, you're safe. Why? Because you're breathing right now. So to get a little bit past that might mean extra work. It might mean sleepless nights. It might mean less free time. All of these things. And so your subconscious is going, no. Like hit the abort button because we don't know what's going to happen there. Does that make sense? So what happens is you start doing well, you hit the abort button subconsciously, and then you come right back and you're like, wait, what the hell happened? I was doing so well. Why can't I get past? Like, why, what happened? Like, why did I just completely pull myself back to where I was? This is the reason why. So now this is the reason why the rich get richer and the poor get poor. And I can give you, like she said in the group coaching, I talk about money. And the reason why is because I had the most scarcity mindset ever, because I remember being a little kid and I remember trying to get on food stamps because of the fact that we didn't have enough food to eat money, enough money to eat food. And my mom had to get a job at a grocery store because we got the food right before it expired. That was the way that we ate. I remember, like times when we didn't have a Christmas tree. And I remember being like 9 years old and going to a women's shelter. And I was very cognizant of the fact that I'm at a women's shelter and I'm getting these because I'm poor. Like I remember specifically the toy that I got. And it was a little remote control car, like a truck. So I had extreme scarcity mindset of like, we never had enough. There's not enough in the world. And I had to overcome that completely in order to be, where I am now today, which is, it's crazy for me to think about. I took myself out of my body the other day and I'm like, holy crap, I'm a guy who has a girlfriend that lives with him in a house that's twice the size of any house I've ever lived in. Like, that's an amazing thing. But then I'm like, how did I do it? What did I do? And I had to take myself out of it in order to teach this money lesson. And this deals with money as much as it deals with just your mind as well. And so for me, it was, I'll give you an example. I used to sell Cutco. I made a lot of money selling Cutco, but I never had any money to show for it. Like, I didn't understand why. And so my paradigm was that I had to work really hard to make money, and money started to come by. So I worked 110 hours a week. So if you guys want to know about like hard work, like I understand it. I worked 110 hours a week. Every single week I was in my office from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. Monday through Sunday, literally not life, for over 2 years. 110 hours a week until I completely burnt myself out. Like I lost a lot of weight. Like I'm white now, but like I was super white. Like I had no pigment because I didn't even see the sun. I was in the office at 7 a.m. I left at 11 p.m. And so reason why was because I thought money is hard to come by. I have to work really hard. But I also remember my mom saying money is the root of all evil and all of those types of things. So what happened was I had those beliefs subconsciously, and it went into my conscious mind. And so what happened was I started actually having the action. If you want to know about how to make more money, how to save more money, how to attract money, all of these things, I'm like the testament to learning it and being obsessed with it. My belief was that it's hard to come by, root of all evil. If something's evil, you want to do what? Get as far away from it as possible. So what did I do? I spent my money on things I didn't need, right? Like I just spent my money on things I needed. And I self-sabotaged to the point where I was making, like when I was 21 years old, I was making $170,000 a year, right? A lot of freaking money for a 21-year-old. But by the time I was 23, what was it, 2010, 24, by the time I was 24, I literally got to the point where I had lost everything. And I was months behind on my car payment. I almost lost my car. All of these different things started happening where it's just like, holy crap, I'm losing everything, even though years before I had made my money. So what happened was my belief was that money was the root of all evil. So then my actions started to dictate it, right? I started to do things subconsciously and speak to my reps in certain ways that maybe I shouldn't have, or push them in ways that they didn't want to be pushed. And that's the one thing, is that the huge light bulb for me as far as managing people and being above people is that the way that you want to be managed is not the same way that everybody wants to be managed, right? I'm like,
all right, I think that's a good spot for us to wrap up some discussion. And then what I would like you guys to do, I'll give you guys the link and then just watch the rest on your time and then share some more takeaways, because it is gold. And did you guys see? I was on there. Did you see me? I showed up. I'm like, I know I was on this Zoom. Where I am. So no, because I was listening to the whole thing at the chiropractor, so I wasn't looking at the screen. But when I first opened it, I'm like, where am I? I know I was on the Zoom. So anyway, what I think is really interesting there is he really recognized his paradigm. He saw his actions, what was being said, and I know, like, I saw myself nod even in there, because I know some of the things that I was taught about money early on. Money is hard to come by. I can relate to that. My parents said that all the time. Money does not grow on trees. What do you think? Who do you think you are? Like, things like that. Things like, oh, they're loaded. That was conversation. That was typical vernacular at my house. If somebody had something nice, it was, oh, they're loaded. They don't care. Or, oh, whatever, let them, I remember my uncle was a pilot and he had a lot of money and he was a great guy. And there was constant little references about him just being loaded and, oh, well, yeah, let him pay, things like that. And it's like, whoa, like that stuff is hard to kind of rewrite in your mind when you grew up hearing that thing. And Heather, I see you nodding. Is that something you can relate to as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. My mom actually still does that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I shared with Nikki a story. This was like maybe even 8-9 months ago. We were at the Mall of America and we were in, I don't know if it was Macy's or Nordstrom, but there were like shoes, like the Louis Vuitton or whatever, those red bottom shoes. I don't even know what they are, but they're like $800-900. And my mom, so it was me, myself, Bella, and my mom. And my mom was like so obnoxious about the price of the shoes, and the salespeople were like, and there were people actually in there like buying these things. Like, and then my daughter started to feed off of it. And I was like, let's go. And when we walked out, I said, you know what? People work hard for their money. And if they want to buy those shoes, it's okay. It's fine. Like, because I want to teach my kids that just because you have money, it's not a bad thing. Like, and my mom, she'll do references and I'm like, Mom, stop. People work hard, and if they want it, they want it. Who cares? Like, I hear the loaded hoity-toities. I grew up with all that. Like, it's just like.
My dad thought people who had money were just crooks. They were all crooks.
Yeah.
And they were going to write crooks and, you know, total liars. Like, I mean, just watch out, because they're just not going to tell you the truth. Like, no matter what, they're just shit people, you know, because like they've got money and power, right? So money and power and greed and like all of this, just like nasty stuff that goes hand in hand. And he related with being poor. Poor people are better. Poor people are good. Poor people are good-hearted. Poor people are wonderful. Poor people are trying so hard. They're trying so hard in life to get ahead. And so to watch my dad pass away with 2 pennies, they don't even have, I will be helping my stepmother, living off of Social Security for the last 8 years. He showed up, he's in an envelope, he's been cremated. It was mailed to me, a couple teaspoons in an envelope. It's out on my table. But here's the thing. He chose to get cremated because it was the cheapest, most inexpensive way for him to deal with his death, because he didn't want to burden us with any cost of a funeral or cost of anything. So while my brother, my sister, and I have still not decided how we're going to celebrate his death that happened in February, like we still haven't figured that out, because he didn't give us any freaking inkling of what the hell he wanted, other than let's not burden you and let's go the cheaper, you know. So it actually went to science, and they sent us a letter. Thank you so much for the body. We've done this, this, and that. It really is a good thing. It's kind of like being a donor on your license if you have an accident or something like that. So it is good, but his reason behind it was to save money. Mm-hmm. That's what my dad's reason behind it. So all of these things, I did not realize, because this is exactly where I live, you guys, because I have greatness. I have creativity. I am a leader. I am all of these things, and believed it for so long. But my $1 million earning capabilities have yet to show that right there. You know, like, I am a good earner, and I'm so responsible. I have the best credit you could ever have in a lifetime. Like, I've done well by my girls. Like, they've always had everything they've needed. But to step beyond that has been that ceiling for me. To step beyond that into greatness, into like, if I'm having a lot of money, I'm spending that on only goodness. Like, I'm good, and I will only continue to shower goodness on my people, on my community, and my legacy, right? So more is okay. But I have to work on this one right here, because I know for sure, subconsciously, this is like just get pissed, bastard. You know, like, it's taken me, I'm 50 years old. I've not gotten past this, you guys. I'd like to say I have, but I have not. It's what's holding me back. And I know it. So I have to change that. And that's where it's like the I am, those statements, I am, and I'm not, and it's not that I'm not enough. It's never enough. Or we only have to have enough. No, you can actually have more than just enough. That's cool. It's okay. Than just what you needed. So these are heavy, and you guys, we all are affected by this. Like, we all need money to live and to have a certain quality of life that we choose to have. And it's looked upon really negatively also as a society. If you have it, don't be boastful. Don't be arrogant. Don't be an asshole. So if you have it, you have to play it down. You can't like boast about it. Okay, that's dumb.
Yeah.
And then if you don't be prideful, God, I freaking paid my electric bill this month. God. It's just like, it's so funny what we think. So let's hear some of the other, if this was like ahas for anybody else before we roly-oly. Sorry, little tangent.
Well, I can go ahead. Go. I'll just jump in quick. This is deep. This is deep shit. I dig it. I've kind of, like, last week I shared with Nikki and I put on the page, that post really like stuck out at me, and I can't remember what it was, but it's like, we're a team, we don't give up on each other. And that's kind of the thing that, you know, it's like I have to self-talk, because for the longest time I just showed up when people told me to show up, and I did what people told me to do because it was easy for me. Because if somebody said, you're going to work this, and this day at these hours, then you show up and you wear this and this is what you do. And I'm like, okay, then I don't have to think. And I went brain dead. And I got into my own self and my, you know, because the choices I was making were horrible choices, you know? So I just started depending on other people. And finally I had my shift where it was like, this sucks. I need to make my own decisions. I don't like what the decisions they're making for me. So I need to get my shit together. And, you know, sometimes I kick myself in the ass because I waited till I was 47 to get my shit together. But it's like, you know, better now than never, I suppose, you know. But I mean, there's so much left for me to do. So I do shift back into the old, and kind of easy, you know, but I'm learning just spit out some words, and, you know, like, you guys are there to rescue me. And it's amazing. And that's why I love being part of this team. I mean, just some simple little voice messages from Nikki. I was like, shut the hell up, Bonnie. You know, I'm like, and who is it, Regina? Sit the hell down, Regina. You ain't part of this plan. Yeah. She's out. So this is really cool. I dig it. And I need to just keep constantly telling myself the positive, and then to overcome the subconscious. So everything needs to be on the same. I need to just stay at 70 degrees.
So it's interesting to see. So I think he gets to in this. So we all have different paradigms, right? Meaning the one that might be holding us back, the one that we could work on the most right now. So for everybody, it's going to be a little different. I do think that mine has something to do in and around my relationship with money. Okay. So like, that's the one I've sort of been working on for a while. So then what we can do is identify the paradigm that we feel like might be holding us back the most right now. Okay. And then write a new version of that. So what is the badass Bonnie, you know, version of that newer, better paradigm? So ditching the old, because it's really powerful stuff, you guys, because your mind is just like, it believes what you tell it is. It believes, your subconscious. You don't have to be actually out here experiencing. If I tell myself I am that $1 million earner, CEO, you know, I'm, you know, that, then it believes that. I start acting like that. I will go down and take action on that, because that's what the belief is. I'm just using that one as an example, right? So, yeah.
Are made for more as well. You know, it's like we're showing you the actions of that diamond, of what a successful, strong diamond leader does. So if you continue to act as if you are a strong diamond leader, guess where you're going to go? When you do that day in and day out and day in and day out, and you put your heart into it, and not just because you're like, I'm going to check the box and do it weak. No, you're going to do it. You're going to show up, and you're going to make it like you're going to put your heart into it. And guess where you're going to go? I'm telling you, like, I look at where I was when I watched this Zoom for the first time and who I am today. It's a different person. I'm a different person. So much has changed in my life. So much has happened since I was sitting in that chair with my mug of coffee and my shake and my side braid. I was just, you know, like, this opened my eyes. It opened my eyes, and it made me really see what's possible. And the things that have happened since then, I mean, there's so many, I can't even tell you, I can't to count. And they're all I would put them in the good category, even though some of them are terrible. Like, some of the most terrible things happened to me since that Zoom. And you know, happened in my life. I'm not going to say happened to me. It just happened in my life, but I overcame it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know what? Some of this fuel has helped me. And I want to share one thing before we let you guys go. There is a woman that used to be part of our team who wrote this really cool post about Paradiams today, you guys. It was so cool. And she's just a really cool person. I really like her. She wasn't on Team Powerhouse, but she was in our greater team. She just went a different direction with her life, but she's still, like, she actually references Trina in this post, like, about some mentoring that she got. But I'm going to read part of it. She doesn't say the word paradigm to it, but it matters so much in what we talked about today. So she wrote these, she put all these bullet points in. So there's a whole other piece of her post, but I just want to share these. Wealthy people are not evil. Success is not granted, it's earned. Going big in your business or anything you want in life takes balls, but also heart, brain, and courage. Those who judge would know if they try. Somebody's expectations of how successful, wealthy people should act, spend their time, money, etc., puts them under no obligation to do so. Having less than one desires is not a badge of honor. It's an opportunity to do more, be more, ask more of yourself, not others. Being intimidated by successful people just reveals the goals, dreams one has not gone after. Be inspired and motivated by people who are ahead of you. We all have a lot to learn, so take the opportunity to do so. See their success as the evidence that it's available to you too. There's room at the top. You get what you wish for if you're willing to work for it. I got goosebumps when I read that today and thought you guys needed to hear that. I needed to hear it, so I thought maybe our team needed to hear it. So I thought it was beautifully done. She references just talking about Trina and just some of the things that she's actually overcome and how it's inspired her to be the woman she is today, even though she's not even part of our team anymore. But who cares? She's a better version of herself today because she was part of it, right? So that's what we're after. That's what this is all about. I want to make sure we end it so that it is an hour. I do have another meeting right after this. Carrie, we good? Yes? So, all right. So I will talk to you guys soon, and I'm sure Stacy will get this recording up, and I'll put up the link for the rest of the Zoom, okay?
Hey, Nikki.
Yeah.
Can you do a cut and paste into our team page of what you just read to us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, for sure. Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.